All right, top 5 songs.
Okay.
How'd you judge this?
So the one thing I will throw out there right now is that none of the songs that made my 5 albums are into consideration for songs.
You did that on purpose?
I did that on purpose because I could
Cool.
it's going to be the exact same list.
Yeah.
Because the 5 albums that I do have, I listen to a lot.
Yep.
And that probably made up the majority of my listening. So I kind of looked outside of the top 5 albums that I listened to.
Yeah.
And just kind of grabbed
Well,
the singular songs.
Yeah, so these, I think a couple of these maybe are from top albums, but at the end of the day, it's mostly based on repeat value. I didn't look at spin numbers.
I was just going to say, did you look at any?
No, I didn't. I don't want to ever look at how many times I've listened to a song, if I'm being honest, especially some of these.
They can be a little embarrassing sometimes.
My first was, it's artist named Alex G. Are you familiar?
Alex G?
Yeah, Alex G.
So
Alex G just put out this record, God Save the Animals. I think the album is pretty good, and I don't think this is the most popular song off of it, but Cross the Sea. So the album itself is making a ton of top album lists. And I just, there's something that the bends genres a little bit in this Cross the Sea song that it feels pretty unique. It's a pretty song. And as should be no surprise to you, I'm a sucker for songs that kind of drop the floor out from under you at some point, and it has a little bit of that as well. So, yeah, Alex G, Cross the Sea.
My first song I'll mention is one that you actually tipped me off on early in the year. And I don't know, maybe we're going to cross paths here at some point.
Wait, is it a guest that we had on the show?
It is a guest that we have had on the show.
What it is.
And you had a pretty good connection to that
I know
guest
exactly
on
what
that
it is.
particular show.
What is it?
Go ahead and tell me what it is.
Wait, no, now I don't know. Is it Crucified?
It's Crucified.
Okay.
Sister Ray, Crucified, which came out early.
Yeah, I was trying to figure it out actually today when when Crucified came out.
It was
yeah,
late January.
Okay, so I actually wrote it down here. But anyways,
okay. So is this? Do we have a tie?
Not on the song level. No.
Not on the song level.
No,
okay.
no.
Okay. Good. Yeah. It's just. I mean, that song has
incredible.
Checks a shit ton of boxes for me, as far as vocals, the acoustic nature of it. It does kind of almost delve into the country, alt country Americana side of things a little bit.
The legitimate power to break you down.
100%.
If you're willing to approach that song with enough vulnerability, then I have no doubt in my mind you will. I was gonna say you will get wet. Your eyes will get wet.
Well, yeah, and it's funny. It's like so many. I like to rock, but as I was going through this list, it is those types of songs that tend to stick out.
Oh, 100%.
The most, for sure. So Sister Ray, Crucified.
Well, in the same vein of Sister Ray, Big Thief, Simulation Swarm. So Big Thief's Dragon New Warm Mountain, I Believe in You, that's the name of their album, is an hour and 20 minutes across 20 songs. It's an extensive record. I don't think there's anything bad about it. It's just as a whole, it's not on my top 5 albums. But Simulation Swarm, fuck. The success of that song alone, I've heard that song doing groceries.
Yeah.
I heard that song at the wedding I was at a couple months ago. I do think that it's a near perfect track. And yeah, Big Thief. I mean, Big Thief is always putting out good music, and
it's so funny. You're right.
Goddamn.
That didn't make my top albums list either, but I loved the shit out of that album and loved the fact that it was an hour and 20 minutes
you don't
long.
get that. Get that very often.
No, you don't get that often at all.
So yeah, Simulation Swarm from Big Thief.
Okay, so I'm gonna go, and this is gonna seem like it's a suck up to Brennan from Bose, but Father John Misty's.
Whoa!
Yeah, I'm gonna put that. I listened
off
to that
of an
song.
album that's not been totally received well by the fans.
And that's probably I'm sure the hardcores are gonna be like, of course that's gonna be his favorite song. Goodbye, Mr. Blue.
That's a new song though. That's off the new.
That's off the
project.
new.
Okay.
I think it might have been the first single released from it, or maybe the second
Yeah.
in that ballpark. But it's got that Harry Nilsson, everybody's talking kind of feel to it. Again, same thing, just lyric wise about, what if today's the last day? What if this is the last time I put on these shoes?
Right.
And I know there's a lot more.
Yeah, I do remember that song
to that song
in
it. But so again, from a melody standpoint, lyrical standpoint, I will flat out admit I don't listen to a ton of other Father John Misty, but that song struck
cool
really well this year.
Do you think Father John's ever made your top?
No, I don't. No, I don't think so. I can appreciate, but it's definitely not a go-to.
Yeah. No, I also have not been able to delve too deep into Father John's category. I've got a few friends that are super big into him, but his fans are incredibly supportive.
Yeah. Yes. That's putting it lightly.
Very supportive. All right, so I think we can both agree that a good album opener is very important. I don't think that it's a necessity in an album. I think that some albums get away with just, here's the album. It doesn't necessarily need to be this big flashy opener.
Yep.
Especially when it's not like, you know, an official intro or a skit or whatever it is. And I don't know what the process was in making this album or deciding the track listing or how that all works. But Chastity's Real World, which opens his Suffer Summer album, is like such a perfect, to me, just the absolute perfect way to kick something off and say, hey,
Sets the tone.
here's what we've got for
what's
you.
to come.
You're going to enjoy it. Take my hand, let's fly away. Some crazy shit like that. It's just executed super, super well. And that record is tough because, and we'll talk about it later, but it came out very early in the year.
Yeah.
First 2 weeks of January,
I was
third week of January,
yeah.
something like that. But it has stuck with me.
I was just going to say, I do remember when that came out, we both had said that'll be a contender for album of the year for sure. And that's a really tough thing to put on an album that comes out in January.
Yeah.
If it can still be, and then you know it's a good product.
Yeah, totally.
If you're still hanging on to it at the end of the year.
Yeah, totally. So yeah, Real World, one hell of a way to kick off a really, really killer album. So shout out to Chastity.
I can't disagree with that at all. Where should I go next? There's one that's a little bit of a weird surprise. No, 3.
You 3 more. Okay.
Okay, so we'll go through it a little quicker. So this will give something away because I said that I did not pick a song from a top album, although the honorable mentions will kick into play. Sky Wallace, I don't know what it is. I love absolutely everything she does. That album she did in 2019, spectacular start to finish. I know you and I talked that maybe this one wasn't quite as strong, but I still connected with it really, really well. And there's a song on it. Have you gone through the album?
Oh, yeah.
There's a song on it called Keeper, which is the ballad of the album, which is
really good song.
absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah.
It's like got like a kind of a gospel type feel to it. There was actually, when they were touring, I think they were in like Germany or somewhere.
Oh.
They had went into an old church somewhere in Europe, this old European church that's just like massive.
Older than our country.
And they did the harmonies to Keeper in that
Holy
church.
shit.
And the echoes and everything were just, it's chilling.
Oh, wow.
There's a ton of emotion into it. And that's one of those grabs you by the heartstrings type of tunes.
Very cool. Shout out to Sky Wallace. And you saw her once this year? Just the one time?
Just the one time.
Ever?
Just the one time
Oh my
ever.
God. Oh my
Ready
God.
for more.
All right. So we had asked our producers, Ryan and Riley, if they had any input. I think Riley had mentioned that he has like maybe 2 things. And I'm curious if my last 2 choices for top 5 songs of the year are something that he was thinking about. But I've always had a bit of a soft spot for soft boys and sad boys in music. And Joji, you know Joji?
I don't know Joji.
Okay, so I think he's a pretty talented singer-songwriter, and a few of his songs over the last few years have really stuck with me. But he drops this song called Yukon. Is this one of them? Yeah. Fuck yeah. Yukon. He drops a song in the summer of 22. Maybe it's September, something like that. It's a very short, quick, beautiful, beautiful song. Unfortunately, the album is very, very mediocre. I think we can both agree on that. But the song itself is like, as a single, money. Perfect. So good.
Huh. Okay.
Embarrassing number of repeats on that song.
Wow. And you got Riley to pop out.
Joji,
his
Yukon.
hole. That's
Yukon.
Joji, Yukon. Okay. What do we're down to 2. Didn't love the album, but did love this song. And I did have a little bit of help as I went back, and I didn't look at exact stats, but I did go back and look through
Your numbers?
my numbers from 2022 just to make sure I was kind of on the right track here. Pup.
Oh, shit. Really?
Robot writes a love song.
Yeah.
Which is just a fun tune. I love they mention radio and the overplaying of a particular song on a radio
on
station.
a very particular station.
On a very particular radio
yeah.
station. So I love that call out. I love the theme of the album.
What was it, Soundgarden?
Soundgarden.
Yeah.
I think Black Hole Sun.
Yeah.
So, and anyways, it's just, to me, it's Pup doing what Pup does best. It's a fun little ditty. Subject matter is pretty interesting. Again, the rest of the album I didn't quite get as fully into.
Yeah, it was a hard one for me to really commit to, especially after the last few.
Yeah, and the last one in particular was
Yeah.
so good.
So yeah, no, I actually, I'm almost ashamed to say I kind of forgot about that record.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, and that's honestly
So it's a good reminder to get
that's
back
why
into
I
it.
wanted to go back and look, because same thing, that it especially when it came out, got quite a bit of rotation. Actually, obviously enough to have it pop into my
Yeah, totally.
stats. But I haven't gone back to it as often, but I will now.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I will also go back to that. All right, so I'm going to do my last song. We'll see if it also matches with Riley's. Okay, so again, this is more of a personal selection of favorites from both of us over the last 12 months, 11 months. This song, it's such a weird thing. It's definitely a viral song. Bizarre Genesis. It was kind of forced into release because it went so viral.
It's not a fucking Korn song, is it?
It went viral before he actually put it out, from what I remember. And I think it works in the best interest of the song. It's not even 90 seconds long. It's like 1:23. Is this the other song you're thinking about? So you want more of the song, but you're not getting it, so you just have to hit repeat over and over again.
Okay.
Lil Yachty, Poland. Am I right? Is that the other one?
Yeah.
Have you heard this?
No.
Oh my
and at
God.
a $1.23.
$1.23, Lil Yachty, Poland. Kind of seems like it started off as a joke.
Yeah.
But the beat is like, the song is fucking awesome. It's so good.
And where did it break? Like where?
I don't know. I'm not sure. Like maybe he just posted a shitty recording on his Instagram and then 2 days later had to put out like an actual track.
Yeah.
I don't know how it works, but yeah, Lil Yachty, Poland. As far as, it might not be the best song of the year, but it's probably the best viral song of the year.
And is there like more from Lil Yachty?
Oh yeah, Lil
Yeah?
Yachty's been around. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, he's been around for a long
Okay.
time.
All right.
Yeah, Poland.
Well, I feel bad with my last one then, because my last one I'm going completely mainstream, and I'm going completely with a song that just made me want to shake my ass and dance. Now that was probably the best mainstream rock song of the year.
Mainstream rock.
Got a ton of
song.
radio play.
It did?
It did.
Oh God, I don't know.
And it's just an ass shaker. And it's a fun song.
Oh, you've said ass shaker this year. What did you say ass shaker to? It was on the podcast.
I like to shake my ass.
Fuck.
I don't know if I
Do we
mentioned
have
this
this
or not.
guest on the show?
This is not a guest that was on the show, no. No, but you're right. I do remember saying ass shaker.
You're shaking ass to some other band. Okay, so who is it? What is it?
Don't laugh. Coin.
Coin.
Chapstick.
What the fuck are you talking? What is that?
You don't remember that? You don't?
Coin.
No, Coin.
Chapstick.
Yeah.
Which one is the band?
Coin.
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 I have.
You know it, right, Riley? I'm sure you had to have heard it.
I'm sure if I heard it.
Yeah, it got a
What-
ton of play over the summer. It's just a fun,
What kind of song?
like a
Is it a pop song?
alternative pop rock.
Coin. Pen doesn't work. Coin and what's the song?
Chapstick.
Oh my God, I can't believe this.
Just get ready to shake your ass. That's all I'm going to say. It's just a fun, again, not a critically acclaimed.
Coin
not
chapstick. Okay,
that's where we're going.
I'm gonna check that out. You got honorable mentions?
Honorable mentions. I did listen to Marcus King put out a new album this year that I really enjoyed. So Hardworking Man, I listened to quite a bit. Altameda, Nightmare
yeah,
Town,
yeah,
had
that
a
record's
ton
sick.
of spins. White Horse, Division number 5 especially. I listened to new from them. The Rural Alberta Advantage EP, which I don't know if I could include that. I thought about including that in albums, but it's an EP, so I don't. But Three Sisters from
Yeah,
that.
really good.
And we had just talked about this a couple of weeks ago, so it's pretty fresh. But that Margot Price
Yeah, that
song,
one.
Lydia, is that's pretty special.
Have you been re-listening to it over
Oh,
and
yeah.
over?
Yeah,
Really?
Yeah. It's just such a great story.
Yeah.
And sad, tragic, all that kind of. And I love it. Like I'm trying to pinpoint. It's like got a little bit of Dolly to it. But there's so many other things going on.
Yeah,
That
it's almost like if John Prine, with his progressive ideas and thoughts and
yes,
content.
and that for whatever reason that reminded me, but like a little John Prine because of the content, especially a little Dolly, and it's actually got like a little Talking Heads
Oh, cool. I know.
thing
I've not
going
thought
on
about that.
to
Yeah.
it every once in a while. So those are my honorables.
My honorables are the Flatliners' Performative Hours, just like wicked song. Keegan Powell's World Awake.
Yeah.
Another example of what I think to be a perfect album opener.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a good song. That album is killer, but that song is, I'll be hearing it until I fucking die. Caroline Polachek's Billions, which I think is a really cool song. And then I mentioned it in the podcast a couple weeks ago with Jordan Clausen, his song Pangea off of Glossolalia. I told him it's the song that I imagine I'd hear if I ever tried heroin, so it's got to be pretty good. So yeah, that one.
Man, I love that. It's a wide range.
Oh,
of shit
totally,
we've got
totally.
here, hey?
Yeah, we're showing up. We're showing
I
up.
love it.
And now,
Drum roll.
albums. So those were the 2 songs you had? Yeah. That's fucking hilarious.
That's great.
We got to show Pete Poland after this.
Means you guys were hanging out together too much this year.
Yeah, maybe. Well,
Maybe.
or just talking about minute and a half songs too much. I don't know.
Name another song that's a minute and a half.
There's a
seconds.
great Blink-182 song that I think is
I'm sure.
around
Okay.
that. It's a Christmas song too, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
All right, so we want to do our albums.
Let's do albums.
We should also clarify we didn't go over this beforehand.
No.
So I was curious to see how many similarities we had.
Crossovers there
Yeah,
might be.
Yeah.
Nothing so far.
Well, that's not true. It's not totally true.
Not totally true. We have our lists haven't crossed, but we're both like, oh yeah, I would have.
All right,
I have
you go first.
I have a feeling albums will probably be very different for us.
Okay.
But I'll start with the one that might maybe cross over here a little bit. I'm going to put Jack White on the list for me.
Which one?
Now that's the problem is Jack White did release 2 albums
Yeah.
this year. So do you include both albums as one whole? If I had to pick, and I figured I should probably pick Entering Heaven Alive would probably have been my choice. And I think we had talked a little bit about with Fear of the Dawn. I loved it and I loved Jack Plugged In, but it just seemed like Fear of the Dawn was a bunch of ideas that ended up kind of getting Frankenstein together and didn't maybe have the cohesiveness.
Yeah, that's fair.
Whereas with Entering Heaven Alive is fully cohesive. It's a great classic rock album. There's a lot of very raconteur sounding things on it. It's a very diverse album. So there was no way I couldn't.
Okay.
Jack White releases 2 albums in one year. There was no way I couldn't include
Yeah, that's totally fair.
Jack.
I like that a lot. I definitely lean more towards the electric side of things. I think I'm just kind of like I need a break from the more rootsy White
Yeah, that's fair.
because it's been like 10 years now.
Yep.
Almost.
And again, don't get me. I love Fear of the Dawn, but it's a little choppy.
Yeah. No, I totally understand what you're saying about that. It's not conceptually the strongest A to Z
Yeah.
record. No, I agree with that. Just made me think about, how a band when they're on stage needs to have a story from beginning to end.
Yes, they
Fuck's
do.
sake.
Tell me a story.
Even if you're just a loud punk band.
Even if you're going to do a minute
guess.
and 23-second song, you better have a story in that.
I don't actually believe that, by the way. Anyways, my first album, we've talked about it enough, and I said it at the start of the year. I immediately knew this was going to be one of my top albums of 22, even if it came out so early. Chastity's Suffer Summer. Go back to episode 54. Check out our chat with Brandon Williams. Like I said, incredible from front to back. It is the 3rd part of a trilogy. Each record is incredibly diverse and unique, yet also specific to a certain set of influences and inspirations musically.
Mm-hmm.
I imagine that's from different points of Brandon's life. But I know that it certainly helps having gotten to know him a little bit over the last year, as well as his amazing bandmates. But still, Suffer Summer, it had been a couple months since I'd listened to it. Put it on again this week just to make sure. And yeah, like, hands down, it's in there for sure.
Yeah. It would be an honorable mention for me. And there's a couple of tunes on that too that I thought, if the mainstream, I guess looking at mainstream radio would just pay attention.
Yeah.
There's a couple of really great
Bangers.
things. Just
Bangers.
Yeah. Well, they didn't pay attention. Okay, next up on the list for me is I'm going to go local and homegrown. And we did have her on the podcast at the end of summer, late summer, because if I remember correctly, it was a gorgeous 20-degree day
yeah.
when it shouldn't have been a gorgeous 20-degree day.
October 18th.
Is that the date?
I think it may have been.
Wow.
I think it was.
It was definitely into October. It shouldn't have been as nice out as it was.
No, it was fucking great.
And that was definitely the last patio interview, I think.
Yeah, to 100%.
We'll do until April or May. Marielle Buckley, Everywhere I Used to Be, which
You're not the only one.
Is that on your list?
It's not on my list today, but it was on CBC's list yesterday.
That's right. Yep.
For both Album of the Year and Up and Coming.
Yep.
Yeah, it's amazing.
The production on the album is fantastic. It takes a little bit again of that Americana type sound, but adds a little bit more of a beat to it, a little bit of some pop sensibilities, I guess, if you will. And the storytelling is amazing. And again, very much like you learn things about Brandon with Chastity, you learn a little bit about Marielle's life. And
I said to Ryan, I think maybe it was Riley when they played at Bose a few weeks ago, like, first of all, amazing voice.
Yep.
But Mariel seems to have this like remarkable ability to write melodies that really, really stick with you.
Yeah. That's every single song on that album.
Everyone.
I always like back in the radio days too, when we would listen to new songs coming in to consider for airplay and everything. One of the telltale signs for me is if I'm humming that chorus in my head an hour later,
Someone
2
else will
hours
be too.
later,
Yeah.
that's a very, very good sign.
Mhm.
And pretty much every song on that album has such a hook to it.
Yeah, and even music aside, one of my favorite interviews of the year, just for how candid and
Just real.
transparent
Again,
Mariel was. Really, really cool.
And a big
Really
Tragically
cool
Hip
dude.
fan, so that
Yeah,
that didn't hurt either.
Mariel and her brother
I haven't
dropped
listened
their
to
cover of it today.
I haven't
Nothing?
listened to the
Okay.
Bob Cajun cover
All right.
yet, but I am very excited to do that.
Album number 2 for me is Soccer Mommy. Sometimes Forever. So sometimes you get a lucky pairing of a talented musician and a producer that you adore. This was not something when I heard about it that I expected it to be as good, despite the fact that I am a Soccer Mommy fan. And Daniel Lopatin, I believe is how you say it, who also goes by 10 Tricks Point Never. He did the soundtrack for Uncut Gems and the Robert Pattinson Safdie Brothers movie, Good Time. And his music, I really, really like 10 Tricks Point Never. So him producing this record for Soccer Mommy sounded a little bit like just a strange combination. Didn't quite know what to expect. And to be honest, I don't know if I had a lot of faith in it.
Mm-hmm.
But then they started dropping singles, and every single was like, oh, this is really cool. This is really cool. This is not what I expected. This is what I expected, but turned out to be way better than I thought it could ever be. It was that kind of experience. So that was a lot of fun. So yeah, Sometimes Forever by Soccer Mommy.
And when did that come out?
A few months ago.
A few months?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, speaking of not getting what you were expecting, you knew this was going to be on my list, and it just came out a month ago.
Okay.
And it's like it wouldn't matter what was actually on the album. It was going to make this list regardless. But the White Buffalo released an album called The Year of the Dark Horse.
Mm-hmm.
He started setting the stage for it months before it was released, like back in the summer, about how it was going to be different.
Mm-hmm.
And he wanted to get rid of the trappings of being an acoustic Americana country leaning
biker
artist.
boy. Yeah.
Wanted to shed all of that and do something completely different. And he wanted to create what he called his headphones album.
Right.
You take whatever it is you want to take before you listen to it, pop the headphones on, and you go start to finish, as it's the story of
It's a
a
true
year
concept. Yeah.
in a man's life. And it starts off pretty much in January and then comes back full circle into December by the end of things. It was not musically what I expected.
Right.
There are
Very
definitely
diverse.
songs on there that lean towards what I've come to expect from the White Buffalo, that acoustic kind of softer sound. But there's like, some Tom Waits sensibilities going on in it. There's some like ELO and Beatles-esque things going on in it.
Very different.
So I don't know if you ever got a chance to rip through it from start to finish, because we haven't talked about it. But again, this guy I've always said he could fart the phone book, and that's probably still going to make my top albums of the year list.
Yeah.
Just because it's still his vocals, but I love the trip that this album is.
Do you have your number one fan in Canada shirt to go to Montana this weekend?
No.
Why haven't you gotten one of those yet?
I should actually have.
I
don't need the
You
shirt.
would easily compete, right?
Yeah. Yeah. There are some stats that back that up that I've gotten here and there in the top 0.5% of listening.
Oh, wow.
I believe
Across the world.
Across the world.
Wow.
It's funny. Facebook's doing all this weird shit now, but like you get the badges, like if you
top fan,
all that kind of stuff. And now they've even one-upped it that they monitor your activity with a band's page.
Oh.
And it'll give you, how many interactions and all that kind of shit. So his drummer, Matt, is pretty active on his social media as well. I had more interactions than even the drummer had.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, okay.
Well, if there's anything anyone knows, it's that Facebook is what bands use the most these days.
Yeah, exactly.
So good thing that they're staying innovative.
So anyways, that one's probably not a surprise being on the list.
I'm not surprised, but I'm happy for you and the White Buffalo fans that however many months of this one's going to be different resulted in a good thing.
Yeah.
Because you could have been.
It could have gone a completely. And trust me, there's definitely a few people that you're always going to go, I liked your old shit better.
Yeah.
Or, oh, this isn't anything.
Yeah.
Artists got to spread their
What
wings
do you
a little bit.
appreciate
And
here?
try.
You appreciate a song 10 years ago or the man playing the music?
Exactly. Exactly.
All right, number 3 for me. We've talked about it a couple times, but Sister Ray's Communion. So what I wrote is that when I first heard Crucified, I sent it to you right away. It was a morning. It was like in the morning.
Yeah.
I remember sitting in my chair at work, and I don't think it could have been much later than 9 in the morning. Beautiful track, and the rest of that record meets the exact same standard as far as I'm concerned. 100% of the way through. Ella's voice, the music, the lyrical content. It's haunting. It's important. It's cathartic. I think when an artist like Ella puts it all out there on a record like this, the least we can do is listen and respect it.
And I think I remember bringing up that there were times I almost felt guilty listening to it because I don't know that I should be allowed to get this
and I don't know
into somebody's life.
Did you feel any different after our interview with Ella?
Honestly, I think I felt more connected.
Yeah, but you still feel like this is a diary that
this is somebody 1,000% exposing themselves. Yeah.
So we did talk to them on our show for episode 64. And like you said, I just think that what Ella's done with Sister Ray this year and that album and that record, it just demands attention.
And not on the album, but did an AC/DC cover and I'm not the biggest fan of covers, but if you're going to do a cover, you should probably do it. And it's friggin' amazing.
That was a couple months ago, right?
A couple months ago.
Recently. Yeah. That's pretty awesome.
Completely out there. Okay, this is another one I talked about a lot at the beginning of the year, and I was curious to see if it would stay with me through the rest of the year, and I did. Same thing, listened to it a couple of weeks ago just to make sure.
Yeah.
Never been a huge fan of this band.
Okay.
They've been around for a long time, and I think it's just great to see a band that's released, I forget exactly what, this is the number, album 11, 12, 13, maybe even more for them. Was Spoon.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And Lucifer on the Sofa.
Yeah.
Again, I've listened to Spoon
Yeah.
casually in the past, but I forget. Again, I think I was going through a new music playlist, and Wild was the song that was on that. And I just thought, this is...
What was the first single, The Cut or something?
I think Wild was first, and then The Hardest Cut was
The Hardest
second.
Cut, right. Yeah.
And again, I'll say it again, how mainstream rock radio ignored...
Yeah, you're right.
Probably one of the greatest straight up rock
from a band that's had some serious notoriety for
definitely
a long time. Yeah, that's a good point. Actually,
it baffles me how that got missed.
Even in the States,
a little bit in the States. Definitely not much in Canada at all. A little bit in the States. It probably cracked the top 40.
What's the BC band? That huge band, Nico Case, Violent Pornographers. Yeah. I'm not comparing Spoon to Violent Pornographers, but I do think that they might fit into a similar category of critically acclaimed, devoted fan base bands who somehow also exist in this wild blind spot in mainstream music.
Yeah, it's so weird. I don't know how they get out of that blind spot.
Well, I don't know if they've done everything they can. They've got the rabid fan bases, and they've got the critical reviews.
I'm sure it doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't, because they're still playing big festivals and venues, and fans are consuming everything that they have. But yeah, the people who are unaware are also not being fed it. It's bizarre.
You go back and listen to The Hardest Cut and tell me that doesn't beat every other song that you'll see on a year end. And there was some good, on the main, Chili Peppers had Black Summer, which was actually pretty decent. The Black Keys had Wild Child, which The Hardest Cut beats.
No, I didn't totally get into that Spoon record, but The Hardest Cut I listened to over and over. It was a great song. So yeah, you're not wrong at all. That's a really good point.
Yeah. Okay.
Some changes need to be made.
I think so.
All right, what's that bring us to? Number 2?
Your 2, I got one left.
Okay, so, and again, this is not actually ordered. This is one of those bands that I knew absolutely nothing about until moments before they started their set at the VAT, just a few months ago. And Riley can maybe confirm, but I believe that when they were getting on stage, I think I looked at Riley and said, "We're about to get fucked up." And that's exactly what happened. So False Body is the band out of Edmonton. One of my favorite sets of the year, hands down. Undeniably appealing to me and everyone else in that room. Now, everyone else in that room was there for a hardcore show, so I don't know how that would relate to everyone else. But yeah, I put on their record from, I think it was June or July, Showing Up Anyway. I think I first listened to it either that night when I got home or first thing the next morning. And yeah, I've listened to it a ton since. Now, it's not 15 minutes long. It's 14 something.
Oh.
But they
Okay.
still consider it an album. And
Interesting.
I don't give a fuck. It's
Good. No,
it's
that's
amazing.
That's
So,
fine.
Yeah, your EP can fit. Your rural Alberta Advantage EP can fit in the category if you want.
It gets an honorable mention.
Yeah.
Because I only have one choice left.
Oh God.
And there's only one choice I can make with it, which I'm sure most people are tired of me talking about ad nauseum. I know my family is sick to death, and it's probably their least favorite album of the year with how much I've spun it.
Are we? I mean, I have assumptions.
It can't be your assumptions have to be right.
Is it Sturgill?
It is not Sturgill.
Is it Charlie?
But Sturgill, because Sturgill's was last year, was it not? That bluegrass album that
Was it really?
I'm pretty sure.
Duty and Juanita?
Yeah,
Oh, really?
I think that
Maybe.
was 21.
Okay, so it's not Sturgill
But
Simpson. And it's not Charlie Crockett.
It is Charlie Crockett.
I listened to that song today.
is Charlie Crockett.
That I Am a Clown song is that's what it's called, right?
I'm just a clown.
I'm just a clown.
That was my walking song of summer, right? It's just got a
That
vibe.
is your walking song of summer. I forgot.
It's just got a vibe to it.
Yeah, it's great.
I knew absolutely nothing about Charlie Crockett going into this year, even though he's been at it for probably 5 or 6 and has at least 10 albums out with all the cover series that he does, which he also released 2
The
albums
young
this year.
or something GL.
The GL.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is GL? My buddy was trying to explain it to me.
Yeah,
Little
honestly,
GL Records or something presents?
Yeah.
Anyways, go ahead.
And it's all like classic
yeah,
kind
yeah,
of
yeah,
50s, 60s country covers. But it was his original stuff that I've gone back to and listened from years past, also good.
Yeah.
But the production of this one and just like the perfect storm came together for this album. It does have like the little intro reprise that starts it off and finishes it. So it's got a nice little bookend to it. Just kind of a nice classic country sound, but there's some jazz. Like there's a song called Trinity River on it that is just a straight up like 40s swinging jazz kind of tune. His story of being, the hobo making his way around from Texas to California and all
Very
points
cool.
in between. There was just, I don't know what it is that hooked me on that album, but
There you go. I mean, it's good. There's some really cool shit on there.
start to finish,
That's the kind of record I wish Sturgill was still making.
100%. I totally can, yes. And that Sturgill
Give me
has
some horns.
made. Yep.
Give me some horns. And that's then I'm back on track with Sturgill
Although
as
I
far as I'm
did
concerned.
like the dude in Juanita as well.
All right, so this is my last one.
Okay.
Always Blue Rev. Spelt ALVVAYS.
Double B's.
Okay, so I am a sucker for Always. They fit very, very perfectly in this like weird dream pop shoegazy alternative stream of music that I too often fall in love with. But Blue Rev was there's a long wait for this album. It's been a few years, and it provided me with song executions that I thought only existed in the past. So 10 or 12 years ago when I first started getting into the Smiths and the Cure and all those 80s bands that I thought were lame-os when I was in high school and stuff, I never, there's just a ton of music and bands that seem very unique and distinct to a time.
Yeah.
But what they've done on Blue Rev, like they've taken a couple songs and they actually feel like fully evolved Smith songs that aren't the Smiths, that are Always. That's so rare.
And this is how many albums in for Always?
3.
Okay.
3 full-length albums. It's Molly Rankin's voice of the Rankin family.
Yeah.
Kind of Canadian royalty, I guess,
Yep.
as far as Canadian heritage music goes. But it's incredible. It's amazing. It's really quite impressive what they've accomplished with that. And as much as I don't rely on the charts, they're crushing it. Like it looks like, according to the lists, the top 50 lists, like they are competing with Beyonce and Rosalita and stuff like that.
Shit.
So it's wild. It's wild. It's a really, really cool record.
And they have not played.
Bose?
Yeah.
No. I saw them at the Gateway
Right.
many, many years ago, like 2013 or something. And I think that was just before they kind of because that's a great example of a band that has had a ton of critical acclaim, festival darlings, fucking Pitchfork, KEXP YouTube videos. Like they're all over. And yeah, I remember listening to them on Indie 88 in Toronto, and I don't think they got any spins outside of maybe CBC outside of that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's another good example of that.
That's a full topic for another podcast. There's so much of that stuff. Even though I'm in that world, I have like people ask, well, how come that doesn't? I got no idea.
Yeah, trust us.
Really?
You think this guy makes the decisions?
Yeah. It really, really should.
Honorable mentions?
The only, not necessarily album-wise, but the one guy I was going to mention that I listened to a ton this year that I think has got to be one of the biggest stories, success stories in music, is Zach Bryan.
Yeah, tell me about this guy.
A little bit.
I don't know anything about this guy.
I want to say, like, he was a Navy SEAL or a Marine. Maybe he was a Marine.
Okay.
And served and did a lot of tours, but performed while he was doing that. And everybody's like, dude, you got something here. And I forget what song it was that actually broke him, but it was a mutual friend of ours, son, that had said, hey, Pete, I think you might like this guy. Because it's kind of in that
I keep seeing the name.
Americana, country rock, kind of a little Springsteen, like early Springsteen kind of vibe to it. And anyways, yeah, so he said, check it out. So I checked it out, and it was right up my alley. I enjoyed it. When I first started listening to him earlier this year, probably would have been March, April, he was at 2 million monthly Spotify listeners.
Mm-hmm.
I think he just topped 20.
Wow. That's
in the
crazy.
span of under a year.
So what happened?
And also, again, not a ton of radio play. I know they're pushing them really, really hard at Canadian country radio right now. And it's not gaining a little bit of traction going in the United States at radio, but I don't know what it was, but it's just, I don't know if it's, again, going through pandemic and those times, maybe that it's just a little bit more earthy, hearty kind of music, that if that's what's really connecting with people. And again, it also seems to really be connecting with a younger audience.
Is he like, can you compare him to the other kind of outcasts that we've talked about in the country game? Like, is he as musically proficient as a Sturgill or a Charlie Crockett? Or
no, it's definitely a little different than that, and it definitely tends to lean a little bit more mainstream. It's definitely not anywhere near the bro country territory of things, but it is more just kind of an acoustic. It's not even. I wouldn't even put Southern rock as the label on it. But no, again, a Charlie Crockett or a Coulter Wall or Sturgill or Tyler Childers is another one I'll throw out there as an album that I listened to quite a bit this year. It's not quite, those lean a little bit more to the really early roots of country.
Yeah.
Whereas Zach Bryan, again, is a little bit more into that, kind of maybe 70s acoustic feel.
All right, I'll have to, keep seeing
But again,
this
just
name.
to see that story go from 2 million monthly listeners to 20
Yeah, it's wild.
in less than a year I think that's a pretty good success story.
One of my I've got 5 honorable mentions. Sham Family mentioned. Sham Family EP I thought was fantastic. Jordan Clausen's Glossolalia. Chat Pile, God's Country. So this is a Baltimore, I think, post-punk / I don't know. I've seen them called sludge metal, which I don't think is totally fair. That album just came out, or just became familiar to me, so I've only been through it a few times, and already it's like very, very impactful. Soul Glow's Diaspora Problems, and Viagra Boys.
Oh, yeah.
Cave World. So I did kind of forget about this record for the last couple months, but I listened to that album over and over and over again this summer. It was really, really good. Really good.
Yeah, I remember you guys talking an awful lot about.
So weird and goofy and just absurd, but also totally relevant. It was bizarre.
Just another one that popped up that I remember we talked about, maybe it was last year. When was Turnstile this year?
Nope, Turnstile was last year.
Turnstile was last year, okay.
Which actually is funny because I like that record this year more than I did last year.
Yeah, that's another one that's stuck with me from last year to this.
I didn't love it from front to back when it first came out, and then I don't know, at some point this year I was like, oh, I missed that music, and I got right back into it, and that record's fucking great.
Yeah, and the reason I think of that too is I think both you and I are pretty good rock guys, but there's not a ton of that in our lists, right?
Well,
I mean, a little bit. I guess
I got some hardcore.
I guess maybe some hardcore, but again,
now you've dipped more toes into the rootsier music in the last few years than the first few years we were working together, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think that's definitely replaced.
Kind of makes sense. Yeah.
Where I've gone, but I really wanted to find just a good solid rock record.
Is that Chili Peppers record actually good?
I don't know that I actually went any further than the first.
Did you like the
songs.
single?
I thought Black Summer was a decent single, but I haven't gone any further than that. And I guess they released 2 this year.
2 records?
2 records.
Dear God, I don't even know if Chili Peppers fans need that much
No.
new Chili
I
Peppers.
don't think they do.
It's like the third time they've done that too. Wasn't Stadium Arcadium like 5 hours long
it
or
was a
some
double
crazy
album.
shit?
Yeah,
And they
yeah.
kicked it off with a blatant
And I
Tom
did-
Petty ripoff.
I've always liked the Black Keys, but and
Yeah.
I went through that album, and it's a solid
Black Keys
but
album?
it's- Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
Black Keys.
Yeah. Well, those are. I'd say that we have offered some serious potential for people to learn more about.
There's a little
Cool
something
22
for
music.
everyone.
There truly is. There truly is. So that was pretty good. Any surprises? Any shocks?
No,
No.
honestly, I knew Chastity was going to rank pretty
Yeah.
high for you.
Yeah, pretty
I'm
obvious.
sure you probably could have guessed the White Buffalo was going to rank.
Actually,
for me?
yeah, I could have, but I don't know. Maybe I just assume it's going to be there, so I don't think about it
Yeah,
anymore.
maybe.
Well, that's a pretty solid top 5 for 2022 from the road, the stage.
Okay, so next up for us is we're going to hit you with some of our best,
Our favorites.
our favorites of the past
Moments
year.
from the last-
We've had some good gets.
It's been a wild. It's been a very fun year for us. I think.
Yeah.
I think it's been a fun year. We're still pumping out episodes on a regular basis. We had some major success with that Warning interview. Yeah, and we're just kind of learning more about musicians that are making their way through town.
How did we get that Warning interview with only 500 subs?
That was a great comment.
I love that comment.
That was a great comment. What did he say 500 at the time? Or
Yeah.
did he have a lower number and you commented that? Or did you say, nah, we actually have 600?
Somebody commented back with 600.
Anyways, I think, it's been a fun year. And if you haven't subscribed to the Communal Creative Studios YouTube channel yet, then
Get on it.
I got nothing to say to you.
We've managed to keep our good friends at Sawback Brewing Company and Go Services Inc., Bo's Bar and Stage. They seem to enjoy being affiliated with us. It's all right.
Staff there's finally starting to learn who we are.
Yeah.
And producers Ryan and Riley. Ryan's not here tonight, but Riley is manning the thing over there. Subscribe to the Communal Creative Studios YouTube channel, please God.
Best of coming next
Wednesday.